How far should you travel to your next job? Well, it kind of stands to reason the shortest distance possible. Ish. The thing is, when you're picking up a job in the morning, you want to eliminate as many dead miles as possible. So really you want to, I mean, the thing about this, the way the CX app works is you can adjust the search radius. On the one that comes up with your phone, it's not always straightforward, but I did one a little while ago, which I consider to be one of the more important videos, which is you can use the desktop version of the CX in the mobile form on your phone. And that's a lot more easier to muck about with, because then you can work out, like, you know, I want to see jobs coming from this location, I want to see jobs from that location, I want to see 10 miles, I want to see 50 miles, I want to see that kind of thing. But there's a direct correlation between how far you should travel to your next job and how much the job is worth. So say, for example, you've got a job on there that's going 10 miles. And it's only in a Luton van. They only want to pay 40 quid for it. Now, with that in mind, you're not really going to do an hour to go and fetch that job, to do the 40 quid, and then finish the job, unless it's the last job of the day, and in which case, when you finish, it finishes around not too far away from your house. But ideally, what you would really want to do is you want to pick up from opposite your front door, and then you want to drive that somewhere, and then you want to pick up opposite or from the same place, drive that somewhere, and then you want to pick up from that place, and then drive back to your front door. There's your ideal job, there's your ideal world that doesn't really happen. But what you can do is you might have a job 10, 15 miles away. That's kind of okay. There might be or you might have a job you think, well, okay, I've got to travel to it, but when I finish, it brings me home. Because you've got to bear in mind also, your distance to pick up is also very similar. If it's your last job of the day, your distance to travel home. So what I've done jobs before, where, say for example, I've dropped off in Southampton and then I've driven to Eastleigh, which isn't too far away, but that road's a killer. But I know that when I get to Eastleigh, I finish up in Hitchin. And Hitchin's not far from me, so that's the same as picking up in Southampton and then finishing in Birmingham, and then I've got to make my way all the way back from Birmingham, which can be like a couple of hours. So you have to you start to get a mind map, and you go, well, okay, that one there is taking me out, and you think, well, that one's taking me somewhere, and that's a good area, so I'm happy with that. And that one there, okay, there's a job not too far away from me, but that's taking me far away again. Whereas there's one like 30 miles away, which is actually taking me much closer to home. And you start to build up mind maps, and you start to work out and how far you should go if you're going to come back. And then once you get the hang of that, you start to go, well, okay, that job there, it's going to take me 3 drops. It's going to take me in Manchester. When I'm done, because I'm on driver's hours, when I'm done, I'm not coming home. I'm going to get nothing coming home. So I'm going to quote that job big money, because I know that I'm going to come back empty. And chances are they won't take it. And that's absolutely fine, because you don't quote the money that the job is worth. You quote the money that the job is worth to you. And if it turns out you go, well, look, they ain't going to pay this kind of dough, but that's what I need. Because to me, that's day rate. To me, that's drive all the way up there, do 2 or 3 drops, I'm coming back empty. Unless, of course, you get Manchester Dunstable. That never happens. Happened to me once. But on the whole, so how far should you travel to your next job? As short as possible. And bear in mind the fact that the more the job is worth, the further away it is worth travelling to it. And also bear in mind that when you're picking up your return loads, the distance to travel to your return load also is directly correlates to how far the distance from where your return load drops off to your house. That sounded very, very complicated, but really it is a matter of pick it up as close as possible, and then when you're coming home, get a job that drops you off as close to your final destination as possible. And if it does take you further afield, and if it does mean that when you drop off you've got a long distance to come home, quote accordingly, because you've got dead miles on that. Diesel's expensive, so you go, well, okay, I'm going to take that, but I'm going to need a few quid to come home. Also, you've got to weigh that one against, if you quote too high, you might lose it completely, in which case you are coming back empty and that could kill you. So it really is, I've said all the way along, I wish there was a graph, that or just like a thing where I could say, if you're here at this point, in this location, you should quote this money. It's just not like that. It's just so many imponderables. And even it comes down to who the job's with. I've looked at jobs before and I've gone, I know that firm, they'll pay me decent money, or I know that firm, I am going to have to go in keen. Life on the CX, it's not so tricky. Take care, take money.